when I look at the movies that I'll watch maybe four, five, six times again and again and again, versus a lot of these modern movies which are basically maybe suitable for me for one watching, is that a lot of these ones that I'll watch again and again, the journey from normal to extraordinary is longer, versus just going from maybe 5 minutes into the plot, you have the normal, and then 8 or 9 minutes later, you've got the superheroes and are doing all those fancy things. So I think in a movie that I've got like maybe half the movie building up, movies like Contact with Michelle Pfeiffer, is it? I think there's a few Tom Cruise movies like Oblivion where you've got this long build up. Um, Batman Begins. I just think a lot of movies nowadays they don't have that development. The Matrix, the first Matrix, that's for me is the most exciting part. Limitless as well, and another movie, Transcendence. There's a long build up, but even with Transcendence, it moved so quickly from like if that movie Transcendence would spend another say 10 or 20 minutes from the build up from when he gets uploaded to the development, but it's such a quick jump from he gets uploaded and then he basically makes this massive complex, you know, biolab. I don't know what the rush is. What is the rush from producers nowadays to get from this, quick fix into the movie?
Yeah, I think, you hear this a lot, and I've never completely bought into this, but it started way back in the 80s when MTV came on the scene. Now, you're too young to remember this. I'm old enough to remember it. Probably a lot of people listening to your podcast don't understand, this whole watershed moment actually in filmmaking, and it happened with MTV. And the thing with MTV was, music videos with lots of quick cutting, right? And right at about that time is when Michael Bay came on the scene. And if you watch Michael Bay's earlier films, there's a lot of quick cutting. It's almost like frenetic cutting. And this is something that really never, you didn't really see in filmmaking too much. But it started at about that point in time. And then what we started to evolve into was that there started to be this thing people were saying that audiences don't have patience anymore to sit through that buildup. That audiences want to, yeah, exactly, right. So it's almost like Hollywood's trying to figure out what the audience wants, but they're getting it wrong, right? And then they're falling into this trap, which is what you're saying, which is like they feel like, when they test screen the film, they hand you a card with all these questions, and it'll say, where do you feel like the movie moved slow? Where do you feel like the movie moved fast? And everybody weighs in. And then they
It's the
read the
best bits of the
cards, and
movie.
everybody, yeah, but they're not saying what's the best part or what's the worst part. And you're not asking, right? And this is like the flaw in test screening, questionnaires. They're not saying, does that hurt the movie? Does that help the movie? Did you like it? Were you impatient? Like, how you question the audience too is going to mean a lot in terms of what you're getting back and how you're adjusting. So what the tendency is to just, because I've been in this process and I've seen how it can be flawed, this is how I'm surmising this happens. Audiences say, "Yeah, move slow in this part." So they go back into the editing room, and even though that part may have been a part the audience was engaged with, because that's the key, that's the real question. Were you ever disengaged from the film at any point in time? Yes. Okay, what scene? This scene. Okay, why? It was moving too slow. Okay, so you'd have to go through that questioning process to understand. But they don't. Okay, movie slow here. Okay, cut it quicker, right? Go back into the editing room and cut. Like when this guy starts finishes his sentence, cut a lot quick, right? So now they're tightening, they're cutting, and then it starts to lead to this idea that, oh, the audience doesn't have any patience, and look, maybe Well, let me put it to you this way. For a period of time, we thought maybe that's true. And then what happened? Movies started to get a lot longer all of a sudden. Now, how did that happen? What happened to that MTV generation? What happened to the quick cutting? What happened to Nobody Has Any Patience? All these superhero movies are 3 hours long, right? So, does any of it mean anything? Not really. It's not the length of the film. It's the engagement, it's the storytelling, right? Am I engaged? Am I connected? And am I, following the storytelling? Do I believe the bullets are real, or this is fake? Or am I buying into it and saying, all right, I know it's fake, but that's okay. I'm going to focus on the characters in the story, right? As opposed to, hey, those bullets, as opposed to, let's say, the plausibility of a comic book film, right? Which, plausibility probably doesn't play a huge part in the development of a film like that. There are other things, perhaps. I'm no expert on those films. I haven't made one yet, but
Mhm.
but I suspect that they're just not focused on plausibility a whole lot. I think the first Iron Man I love because it's like,
Yeah,
Downey's like a real character, right? It's
yeah,
like there's the film's grounded in something you can attach to. And
yeah, yeah,
that's really important. There needs to be a grounding. Films need to have a grounding element. Even comedies. In a comedy you need the straight, you have Laurel and Hardy, right? One is the comedic uh foil, the other one is the straight man. In a comedic film, there needs to be like a straight element. If there isn't if there aren't straight characters and then comedic characters or foils, then there needs to be something in the film that grounds it in a reality that we then can play the comedy off of. So that's really important.